Hello everyone and welcome to the Priceless podcast. My name is Michael Sechen. This podcast is made in partnership with the European Forum of LGBT Christian Groups. Subscribe, like, share this video, and after you've seen it, you can check out the links in the podcast description. Today we have a new guest and he comes from the UK. And his name is Paul Whiting. Hello, Paul, and welcome to the Priceless Podcast.
Hello. Good to be there. I was born and raised in the Pentecostal church. I was aware of my difference since I was 3 years old and grew up with that silence around difference. There wasn't really a conflict, but there was a conflict. I mean, the conflict wasn't with God, the conflict was with silence. But I got a place in seminary, went off to train to be a pastor, and I think that's when everything began to explode. I had this dream that maybe the church I was in could be a catalyst for, a more diverse congregation. I mean, it was very naive, but there was a number of queer people starting to attend the church because I'd become known within LGCM circles. I couldn't live in this double life. And eventually my roommate reported me to the church authorities and I was asked to resign or they kicked me out. And that's where my journey really began. That freed me up to get involved in gay Christian activism. I joined the gay Christian movement. I was on their national executive. That really was the motivation for a life change. So I eventually joined Metropolitan Community Church. Then in 1995, I immigrated to the USA to work full-time with Metropolitan Community Church. I was there 27 years until last year. I've always had my faith in God. I mean, I've loved the church. I've loved the people in the church. But my faith has never been in the church because it's pretty unreliable. I've always felt accepted by God. For a long time, I believed that sin is anything that separates you from God. And I've never felt my sexuality has separated me from God. I've always learned that, if you can't take God with you, then maybe you don't need to go there. My love of ministry has always been my greatest love. It's about passion. I think I've always had a passion. I think my love of religion has changed. I mean, I was born into it, and I've really had to liberate myself from it without losing my faith. I came out to my mother when I was doing my internship with the Assemblies of God. She was just surprised. Never crossed her mind, and to this day, she always regrets the grandchildren that never happened. And it's interesting now, my mother is just about to turn 90, and she only wants to talk about those pre-coming out days. My father, I thought, would be far more difficult in one sense, that took me by surprise, that he actually had known, but his closing words were, "Don't be gay on my doorstep." So I never went back. We had a deathbed reunion, which was very Hollywood-esque. But I've never had a sense of he didn't love me. He just couldn't accept me because of his religious beliefs. And when his religious beliefs rejected him as well, I think there was some sort of realization. And so many people have this strong love for their family. I don't have the strong love. And I've moved to America really because of a lack of opportunity, as I thought, to do progressive ministry in the UK. We were also in the middle of an AIDS crisis, and I was severely burned out. In the year before I emigrated, 8 of my friends died, and then my dog died, and suddenly the dog became the catalyst for all the grief. I needed a change. I'd been working with MCC for 4 years, applied for a church, went to Des Moines, Iowa, had no idea where Des Moines was. I thought it was in Louisiana because it sounded French. Ironically, I spent those first 2 years almost being an AIDS chaplain. But I found a sense of diversity and inclusiveness that I couldn't find here then and I can't find here now. And it was suggested to me that if I wanted to stay in America, I should find a husband quickly. So I did. My husband was Wisconsin Synod Lutheran by upbringing. That's extremely conservative. He was a professional ballet dancer, also singer, very gifted artistically. I answered his ad on Match.com because he spoke about his Christian testimony, and he was the only person that I'd seen that did that. So I really responded to say, I appreciate you putting it out there, because I hadn't put mine out there. I was on a month sabbatical, so we chatted for a bit on the phone and we got to know each other. He got tested and he was HIV positive and devastated, absolutely devastated. And said, we need to end this relationship now. And I said, hell no, this is where it begins. It was a great relationship. I think I was too much in love with ministry. We'd both planned to move to Canada, and MCC had encouraged me to go and work with the church in Canada, and Canadian immigration wouldn't allow him in because of his HIV status, and subsequently wouldn't allow me to get permanent residency because we were legally married. We'd legally married in Canada the year before in Montreal. But I was on a 6-year contract, and I think that was the beginning of it falling apart. Somehow I didn't give to it what it really needed. 3 years ago now, he'd met somebody who was HIV positive and said he needed, our relationship wasn't giving him what he really needed. And so, to my shock, he ended the relationship. And I just had this idea I would move back to the southern states. We would rework on our relationship and I'd be living in happy retirement in Florida for the rest of my days. But I was too late. I accept responsibility. It was my fault. I didn't give enough commitment to the relationship that I might have done. I always say I have no regrets. I always accepted the challenge and in the moment did the best that I could. I regret that the last 3 years caused my ministry to end abruptly, but in some ways they were the best 3 years of my life because they pushed me really to the edge of my boundaries. Coming back to the UK has been equally hard. I think I had some nostalgic dream that I was going to come back and with all this wisdom and pick up where I left off. Well, how naive could I have been? The activist in me isn't dead, but I want to get involved in something I can contribute to. So I'm in this little quandary. I have all this experience and don't quite know what to do with it. I'm left in this void where people don't even remember who I am. So I don't like to use the word discerning because I've used it way too many times in my life, but I'm exploring the future. But I'm not disliking where I am in life, not having to go to church every Sunday, not having to preach every Sunday. There's a liberation in that. I think I'm an agnostic right now. I would never have said that before because I wouldn't dare, And I love the journey that I've been on, the journey of faith that I've been on. Being agnostic gives me a platform to relearn and revisit and re-explore.
Thank you, dear viewers and listeners, for being with us today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did listening to Paul's story. This podcast is made in partnership with the European Forum of LGBT Christian Groups. Please subscribe, like, share with others, and if you want to and if you can, please support this podcast to help it continue. So, everything that's left to say is see you next time, and until then, bye everyone, and bye Paul.
Bye, thanks very much.